"That's not me," Evelyn whispered, her breath fogging the laptop screen. The video froze on a frame that shouldn't exist, her husband's hands cupping another woman's face, a face that looked almost like hers but wasn't. The bride smiled, lips trembling in that way she always did when nervous, but the dimple was on the wrong side. Evelyn leaned closer. Every second of the footage felt like someone else breathing through her lungs. The screen flickered, a static pulse, and the laughter in the background warped into a mechanical echo. She hit pause again. The timestamp read June 12, 2016, her wedding day. But she remembered wearing a different dress, a different bouquet, a different song. Her reflection in the laptop's dark frame stared back, pale and disoriented, the same woman but not the same memory. She whispered to herself, as if saying it aloud would anchor her. "That's me. That's me." The woman on screen turned to the camera and winked, a gesture Evelyn would never make. Her pulse thundered. She clicked rewind. The audio crackled. "Do you take her to be your?" Then cut to static again. Evelyn slapped the laptop shut, so fast it echoed through the empty apartment. The silence afterward was too clean, too sharp. Her heart thumped against her ribs like it was trying to escape. She pushed the laptop aside and pressed her palms to her face. Maybe it was a glitch, a corrupt file, an editing error from the digitization service. But something in her chest, that ancient instinct that screams when reality bends, told her this wasn't a mistake. It was a message. The phone buzzed beside her. "Evelyn, you there?" It was Rachel, her sister's voice, casual, oblivious. "I just sent you the video link. Did it play okay?" Evelyn's throat tightened. "Yeah," she lied. "It's fine." "Good. Mom was crying watching it again. I thought you might want a copy." Evelyn looked at the dark laptop, her own reflection caught in its sheen, faint and ghost-like.
"Yeah.
Thanks." She hung up before Rachel could hear the tremor in her voice. The air felt heavier now. She stood, crossing to the mirror on the wall. Full length, silver frame, same one she'd had since college. Her reflection met her, but the light caught on her left cheek strangely, like the angle had changed. She lifted her hand to trace it, skin smooth, no scars, no bruises, but that didn't stop the unease. The woman on screen, the one marrying her husband, had a freckle near her eye. Evelyn didn't. She turned off the light, but the reflection lingered an extra beat before following. Her breath hitched. She turned the light back on. Nothing unusual. Just exhaustion, she told herself. Stress. Grief. Maybe the digitization process had spliced some stock footage. But then why did the woman in the video wear Evelyn's grandmother's ring? She sat again, opened the laptop, pressed play. The video resumed mid-laughter, guests cheering, champagne glasses clinking. Evelyn's husband, Daniel, kissed the bride's forehead. The camera zoomed slightly, capturing the moment he whispered something. Evelyn turned up the volume. His voice came through soft, loving, chillingly familiar. "You'll remember this, even if they make you forget." Her body went rigid. "What?" she whispered, pausing the frame. Daniel's expression froze, smiling, calm, a man with his secret tucked behind his lips. Her phone slipped from her hand and hit the floor. She stared at the screen again, trembling fingers moving the cursor frame by frame. In one still, a gloved hand appeared in the background, someone adjusting equipment behind the curtain. Not a videographer. A lab coat. She zoomed in until the pixels broke apart. A logo blurred on the coat pocket. Revelis Biotech. Evelyn's breath caught. The name sparked something faint. She'd seen it on a bill once, years ago, when Daniel handled her hospital recovery after a car crash. Revelis Biotech. Neural Restoration Division. Her heart pounded. She opened her browser, typed the company name, and scrolled. Revelis Biotech. Clinical research, neural mapping, reconstructive therapy. And below, an archived article. Revelis receives grant for memory pattern simulation in post-trauma patients. Her chest went hollow. Memory pattern simulation. The laptop camera light blinked once, then twice. She froze. She hadn't opened any call app. Her reflection stared from the black screen again, eyes wide, breathing shallow. The small green LED stayed on. Watching. She reached for a sticker to cover it, but before she could, a voice came through her speakers, distorted, distant. "Evelyn, stop looking." She shot up, the chair clattering behind her. "Who is this?" she shouted. Silence. Then a soft mechanical whine feedback. The camera light turned off. Her skin crawled. She yanked the power cord, slammed the laptop shut, and pressed her back to the wall. She wanted to call Rachel, or Daniel, or anyone, but her hands shook too much to dial. Finally, she grabbed her phone, opened the old message thread with Daniel, 3 years of nothing but silence since their divorce. She typed, "Did you edit our wedding video?" The typing dots appeared almost instantly, then disappeared. Then came the reply, "Don't dig into this, Eve. Please." She read it again, every word tightening around her throat. He knew. She typed back, fingers trembling. "Who was the woman in that video?" No response. Just message delivered. Her phone vibrated again seconds later, unknown number. A text. "We can explain. Come alone. 9 p.m., 221 Grove Street." She stared at it until the digits blurred. Grove Street was in the industrial district, old warehouses, empty offices. The kind of place where memories could be erased without witnesses. Evelyn sat down slowly, trying to breathe. Her hands still trembled. Somewhere between fear and fury, a thought anchored itself. She had to know. Maybe it was a trick, maybe a cruel prank, but if there was even a chance her past had been tampered with, she couldn't ignore it. At 8:45, she grabbed her coat. The sky outside was bruised purple, rain misting across the city lights. She drove in silence, her reflection flickering faintly in the rearview mirror like a stranger watching from the back seat. Grove Street smelled of damp metal and oil. She parked beside a faded sign that once read Revelis Storage Annex. One light glowed inside the building. She hesitated, listening. Only the sound of her heartbeat. Then she pushed open the door. The hallway was long, humming faintly with electric current. A projector light flickered at the far end, casting faint shadows on the walls. Evelyn followed it, each step echoing. In the last room, a screen glowed. The same wedding video played. Her face, her husband, the wrong bride. But this time, the camera panned slightly wider. Another woman stood behind the curtain, watching. Same height, same hair, same eyes. Evelyn moved closer, breath trembling. On the video, the hidden woman looked straight at the lens and whispered, "She shouldn't have woken up." The footage froze. Evelyn's reflection shivered in the glow of the paused frame. Somewhere, deep inside, something began to fracture, not from fear, but recognition. She whispered, voice breaking the silence. "What did you do to me?" The lights in the hallway flickered once, then went out. "Why does it say donor tissue?" Evelyn's voice broke in the sterile quiet of the hospital archive room. The fluorescent light above flickered once, as if embarrassed to hear her. She stood before a screen displaying her old medical records, lines of text she had never seen, blacked out names, signatures blurred. In one column, under facial reconstruction procedure, a phrase glared back, source, donor 7A, facial graft integration complete. Her knees weakened. She grabbed the metal desk edge to steady herself. No, that's not possible. She remembered the crash, the burning smell, the glass, the darkness afterward, and the voice that told her she'd been lucky to survive. Daniel's voice, the one who signed the release papers. Her hands trembled as she scrolled. Every record of her treatment bore the logo of Revelis Biotech. She clicked another file, encrypted. A password prompt appeared. She tried her name, her birthday, Daniel's birthday. Nothing worked. Then, on impulse, she typed the date of their wedding. The file opened. A series of before and after images appeared, 3D facial scans. On the left, a stranger's face. On the right, hers. The metadata read, Patient 7A, deceased. Reconstruction model success, 97%. Evelyn's breath came shallow, chest tightening. Model, she whispered, tasting the word like poison. The person whose face she wore wasn't gone. She'd been replaced. A soft mechanical sound broke the silence, the printer behind her word to life. Evelyn froze. She hadn't touched it. A single sheet slid out, still warm. Printed across it was her photo, but the caption underneath read, Evelyn Hart, subject continuation trial number 2. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Evelyn snatched the page, stuffed it into her coat pocket, and ducked behind the cabinet. The door opened. 2 men entered, one in a white coat, the other in security uniform. She accessed it again, the doctor muttered. She shouldn't have remembered. The guard frowned. You think it's breaking down? The doctor sighed, flipping through a tablet. These identity overlays don't last forever. Emotional stress accelerates disassociation. We warned him this would happen. Evelyn's heart slammed against her ribs. They were talking about her memory breaking down, like she was some experiment fraying at the edges. The doctor continued, lower now. Erase her access. If she comes again, notify Daniel. Daniel, her ex-husband, her handler. The men left. She waited until the hallway fell silent, then slipped out the back door, moving like someone learning her own body again. The air outside hit her like ice. Rain streaked her face, mixing with tears she didn't remember, deciding to cry. By the time she reached her car, her hands were shaking too hard to hold the keys. She sat in the driver's seat, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Same lips, same eyes, same skin. But whose? She whispered. Who did you belong to? Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A text. Stop digging, Evelyn. You were never meant to find her. Her blood ran cold. She typed back. Who are you? No reply. Instead, a file arrived, a photo. A hospital bed. A woman's face, wrapped in gauze, features swollen but unmistakably similar to hers. The caption, 7A, terminated. Evelyn gasped and dropped the phone. The rain outside blurred everything into streaks of gray. She picked up the phone again, enlarging the image. The woman's hand was visible, a gold ring on her finger. The same ring Daniel had given Evelyn on their wedding day. Her stomach twisted. She needed answers, not on a screen, but from someone who couldn't hide behind encryption or shadows. She drove. The city blurred past like static, neon bleeding through her windshield. By midnight, she was standing outside Daniel's apartment. The lights were off, but his car was there. She climbed the steps, every echo of her boots sounding too loud. Her reflection followed her in the stairwell windows, always half a second late. She knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Finally, the door opened. Daniel stood there in a t-shirt, hair disheveled, eyes hollow. For a second, his expression softened, then hardened again. Evelyn, he said quietly. You shouldn't be here. She pushed past him. What did you do to me? He sighed, shutting the door. You don't understand. No, she snapped, spinning to face him. You're going to make me understand. I saw the files. I saw the donor ID. Who is she? Daniel ran a hand over his face. You weren't supposed to remember. Her voice cracked. Then erase me again. Go on. Whatever you did before. I saved you, he said sharply, stepping closer. You were dying. They offered a way to bring you back. By turning me into someone else? He didn't answer. His silence was the kind that confesses everything. Evelyn took a step back. Whose face is this, Daniel? He swallowed. Her name was Lydia. She volunteered. Volunteered? Evelyn laughed bitterly. You mean she died and you made me wear her? She was terminal, he said softly. They were testing synthetic identity reconstruction. They needed a live neural map. Your brain injury made you the perfect candidate. It worked. You lived. She stared at him, disbelief cracking into rage. You let them carve a dead woman onto me. He looked at her like a man staring into the grave he dug himself. I couldn't lose you again. The word again caught her. What do you mean again? Daniel exhaled slowly. The crash wasn't an accident. They were trying to silence her. Lydia worked for them. She found out what Revelis was doing, using patients' memories for behavioral prototypes. She tried to expose it. They crashed the car she was in, and you were with her. Evelyn's pulse roared in her ears. I was what? You were both unconscious. They saved you, but Lydia was too damaged. Her tissue became the base for reconstruction. They merged you, her face, your mind. They called it a success. But you were never supposed to remember her. Evelyn staggered back, gripping the wall. Fragments of memory, voices, light, a hand reaching through shattered glass, flashed through her mind like broken film. Lydia's voice, whispering something she hadn't understood before. If they find me, they'll find you. Tears blurred her vision. You married me knowing I wasn't me. Daniel's voice cracked. You were both. I thought if I could love you enough, maybe it would stay stable. She stared at him, the man who'd saved her, rewritten her, betrayed her. And when I started remembering, he looked down. I called them. They said they could recalibrate you. Her breath caught. Erase me, you mean? He didn't deny it. The room tilted. She pressed her hand to the wall to stay upright. The woman in the mirror across the room stared back, eyes red, lips trembling. For the first time, Evelyn didn't recognize her at all. I want to see her file, she whispered. All of it. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. There's a backup server. The old lab. If you go there, you'll find what you're looking for. But don't. Once you see it, there's no going back. Evelyn stepped toward the door. There's no me left to go back to. As she left, Daniel called after her, voice trembling. Eve, if you find her, she might still be alive. She stopped cold, hand on the doorframe. The rain outside blurred into light again, the night swallowing her reflection as she whispered, Then I'm going to find her. The door shut behind her, and in the mirror's faint glow, her reflection smiled half a second later. But this time, the expression wasn't hers. They didn't just steal your face, Evelyn. They copied your mind. The words came from a man she had never met, but his voice sounded like it already knew her. The message had arrived through a hidden email address an hour ago, with a single instruction: meet me where it all began. Now she stood beneath the fractured neon sign of a closed diner on the city's edge, rain dripping off the awning like time refusing to stop. A man stepped out from the shadows, late 40s, unshaven, a press badge half torn from his jacket. Name's Adam Rourke, he said quietly. I used to work with them, Revelis Biotech. I know what they did to you. Evelyn didn't move closer. Then tell me why I'm still breathing when she isn't. He lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Because you're the proof it works. You're the experiment that survived. Her stomach clenched. Experiment. He nodded. Project Echo. They called it memory mapping, transferring emotional identity patterns from one person to another. Lydia, the woman whose face you wear, was their first viable donor. You were the host. Rain whispered against the cracked glass. So what am I? An echo of two people, Adam said softly. They didn't just rebuild your body. They implanted fragments of her neural imprint, her empathy, instincts, maybe even pieces of her memories. You've been living with both of you in one head. Evelyn backed away, shaking her head. No. I remember my life. My parents. My wedding. He interrupted. Do you? Or, do you remember what Daniel told you? The words hit like a slap. Her mind flickered through moments. Laughter that didn't feel like hers. Songs she'd never liked but knew every lyric to. The sudden panic every time she looked in a mirror too long. Adam handed her a flash drive. Everything's on here. Internal memos, test logs, patient videos. You'll see how deep it went. She took it reluctantly, the small object burning cold in her palm. Why help me? Because I helped build it, he said, exhaling smoke like confession. And because Lydia wasn't supposed to die. Evelyn looked up sharply. You knew her? He nodded. She was a neuroscientist on the project. Brilliant. But she found out what they were really doing, using dying patients' memories to create behavioral clones for investors who wanted eternal influence. She tried to shut it down. They silenced her. But before they did, she uploaded something, an encrypted memory file they never found. I think it's still inside you. Evelyn froze. Inside me? It's what's causing your flashbacks, your confusion. Those aren't dreams, Evelyn. They're fragments of her memory bleeding through the graft. Thunder rolled in the distance. The city lights flickered. Evelyn's grip on the flash drive tightened until her knuckles whitened. How do I get it out? Adam looked at her with pity. You don't. If you remove it, your brain collapses. The neural patterns are merged. But you can unlock it. He handed her a folded note. This address, Revelis Sublevel 3.
The old lab.
There's a terminal still active.
It'll read your implant.
Once you connect, it'll show you what they hid. Evelyn's voice dropped to a whisper. And then you'll know who you really are. Before she could respond, the sound of tires screeched nearby. Headlights flared across the diner wall. Adam swore under his breath. They traced the message. He pushed her toward the alley.
Go.
I'll hold them off. I can't just leave. Go, he barked, shoving her into the rain.
She ran.
Behind her, she heard voices shouting, glass shattering, a single gunshot. She didn't look back. By the time she reached her apartment, her clothes clung to her skin, her breath ragged. She plugged the flash drive into her laptop, heart hammering. A folder opened automatically, marked Project Echo/Confidential. Inside were dozens of video files, each labeled with dates. The earliest one was 6 years ago. She clicked play. The screen filled with a lab. White walls, glass panels, Daniel in a lab coat. He stood beside a hospital bed. On it lay a woman, motionless, her head covered with scanning electrodes. Lydia. Daniel's voice echoed through the speaker. Subject 7A in stable condition. Initiating Phase 3, memory transference. Evelyn leaned forward, trembling. Another figure entered frame. Adam, younger, focused. He adjusted monitors displaying Lydia's brain activity, the rhythmic pulsing of her heartbeat fading with each reading. Then Daniel spoke again, softer this time. Pattern transfer complete. Neural host stable. Beginning integration. Subject 7B. The camera panned. Evelyn gasped. On the next bed lay herself, or rather, the version of her before the accident. Tubes, bruises, the pale shell of who she was. Daniel looked straight into the lens, voice barely audible. If this works, she'll live. The screen flickered, static swallowing the feed. When it returned, Lydia's monitors were flatlined. Evelyn's pulse was strong. Evelyn pressed pause, her hands covering her mouth. He killed her to save me. The realization hit like a collapse. The love she thought had resurrected her had been built on someone else's death. She clicked another file. Security footage. Daniel and a group of executives shaking hands with government officials. The caption, Project Echo, Behavioral Continuity Prototype Presentation. Her stomach churned. This wasn't medicine.
It was industry.
They'd found a way to sell immortality through stolen identity. The door buzzer jolted her from the screen. 3 short rings, then silence. She froze. The intercom crackled. A voice came through, distorted, female. You shouldn't have opened those files, Evelyn. Evelyn's blood turned cold. Who is this? No answer. Only static, then a faint whisper. You'll ruin everything we built. She shut the laptop, grabbed her coat, and fled down the stairwell. Her reflection caught in each landing window, doubling, distorting, multiplying. The face that followed her wasn't entirely hers anymore. She reached the street, breathing hard. The city felt alive with surveillance, shadows in car mirrors, lights flickering in rhythm with her heartbeat. She headed toward the address Adam had given her, the flash drive tight in her hand. The lab was hidden beneath an abandoned clinic, sealed behind rusted doors and biometric locks. But when she pressed her palm against the sensor, it clicked open with a soft chime. Her fingerprints still worked. Of course it did. They'd built her. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and memory. Machines slept under plastic sheets. Monitors glowed faintly, like dying eyes. She followed the corridor until she found a console still active, cables snaking into the wall like veins. Evelyn inserted the flash drive. The system flickered alive. A prompt appeared. Identity match required. Subject 7B. She hesitated only a moment before pressing her thumb to the sensor. A cold vibration rippled through her skull. The lights dimmed, then brightened. The screen filled with a waveform, her brain activity merging with stored data. Then words appeared, forming like a whisper. "Welcome back, Lydia." Evelyn staggered back, eyes wide. The monitors around her blinked to life, showing fragments of memory not her own, a childhood by the sea, a father's laugh, a research lab full of mirrors. Lydia's life. Her mind flooded with sensations she couldn't separate from her own.
Her knees gave out.
Voices layered inside her head. Two tones, two lives, colliding like waves. Daniel's voice echoed faintly in the mix. "You'll remember this, even if they make you forget." The screen flashed one final line before it went dark. Phase 4 activated. Evelyn whispered through trembling lips. "What did you do to us?" The speakers crackled to life, and a woman's voice, calm, identical to her own, replied, "I didn't die, Evelyn. I just needed you to find me." The lights flickered once, then everything went black. "Open the door, Daniel, or I'll break it." Evelyn's voice shook more from fury than fear. Her reflection in the lab's steel door wavered under the red emergency lights, eyes hollow but burning. Behind the glass, his silhouette stood frozen, head bowed, like he'd been waiting for this moment to finally come. When the lock released with a click, she pushed through, the sound of her footsteps sharp against the sterile floor. Daniel didn't turn. He stood before the observation window, a sheet of mirrored glass dividing the lab from whatever waited beyond. "You shouldn't have come," he said softly. "I've spent my whole life not knowing who I am," she shot back. "The least you can do is look at me while you lie." He turned, and for the first time, she saw what guilt did to a man's face. It hollowed him from the inside out. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." "Then tell me what it was supposed to be," she demanded. "Tell me why I found a lab under our names, why my records list me as a continuation trial, why I hear someone else's voice when I dream." Daniel took a step forward, his voice trembling. "Because the woman you were died in that crash. The woman standing here, you're what I made to survive her." She laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound. "You made me?" "You and Lydia were connected. The same neural patterns. The same emotional frequencies. When her brain began to fail, they transferred her imprint into you to stabilize your mind. You were meant to live for both of you." Evelyn shook her head violently. "I didn't ask to be half of someone." He reached toward her. "You're more than that. Don't touch me." She backed away, breathing fast. "You said she died. You said you buried her." Daniel hesitated. "We did. Or I thought we did. Until the system reactivated." She frowned. "What system?" He pointed toward the mirrored glass. Phase 4. Lydia's consciousness wasn't deleted, it was preserved. She was the control variable. The last test. Evelyn moved closer to the glass. "You're saying she's alive?" "Alive isn't the word," Daniel whispered. "Sustained." Her reflection stared back at her, pale, trembling, and for a moment, she saw movement on the other side. A shadow mirroring hers a half-second late. She blinked. The shadow blinked too, but slower. Evelyn stepped closer until her breath fogged the glass. "Show me." Daniel hesitated, then pressed a code into the wall panel. The mirrored glass flickered, the tint dissolving into transparency. Behind it stood a room filled with cold light and machinery, and a figure seated in the center, eyes closed, wires trailing from her temples into a humming server unit. Evelyn's world tilted. The woman's face was her own, but softer. Still. Unaging. Her voice broke. "Lydia." Daniel spoke quietly. "She's in a stasis loop. Her consciousness runs the memory network that keeps her stable. Without her, you collapse." Evelyn's hands pressed against the glass. "She's breathing." "Barely," Daniel said. "Her body is only a host now, a reflection of what was. Every thought you've had, every emotion, passes through her. She's the mirror that lets you exist." Evelyn stared at her own sleeping twin, a chill crawling through her veins. So, all this time, I was living someone else's life. Daniel shook his head.
No.
You became her continuation. The fusion worked, but when you started remembering, the system began syncing again. She's waking because you're diverging. Evelyn looked up, anger and grief twisting together. Then stop it. Let her go. He hesitated. If I disconnect her, your mind fragments. You'll lose everything. Yourself, your memories, your sense of who you are. Tears burned behind her eyes. Maybe that's already gone. Daniel reached for the console, hand trembling. Evelyn, listen to me. If you shut her down, both of you could die. She looked at Lydia's still face. The machines surrounding her pulsed with soft blue light, like the rhythm of thought, like two minds breathing in sync. What happens if she wakes up completely? Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. Then she'll want her life back. Evelyn's reflection flickered on the glass. Two versions of her, one alive, one suspended. For a moment, their eyes aligned perfectly. Then Lydia's lids twitched. Her fingers moved slightly. Evelyn stepped back. She can hear us. Daniel turned toward the monitors, voice urgent. The neural frequencies are syncing. Evelyn, you have to leave. But she couldn't move. Lydia's eyes opened, calm, impossibly aware. She looked straight at Evelyn through the glass, expression unreadable. A voice filled the room, soft and layered, not from Lydia's mouth, but from the intercom above. You found me. Evelyn froze. The sound was her own voice, identical tone, identical rhythm, but heavier, older somehow. Lydia? Yes, the voice said. I waited for you to remember. Daniel's hand hovered over the power control. Don't talk to her. It'll destabilize the feedback loop. But Evelyn ignored him. What are you? I'm what you were before they rewrote you, Lydia said. The one who tried to stop them. The one he couldn't let die. Evelyn turned sharply to Daniel. You said she was gone. Daniel's face crumpled. I had to choose between losing you or losing her. I couldn't do either. Lydia's voice grew louder, vibrating through the speakers. He didn't save you, Evelyn. He merged us, to keep his guilt alive. The glass between them shimmered, light warping as the temperature dropped. Evelyn felt something pull inside her skull, a tugging, magnetic sensation, like her thoughts were being drawn toward the figure behind the glass. Evelyn, Lydia whispered, come closer. Daniel grabbed her arm. Don't listen. It's a recall protocol. She's trying to reclaim the neural data. Evelyn yanked free. She's not a protocol, she's me. Lydia's eyes flickered open wider, irises glowing faintly with electric blue. The lights dimmed across the lab. Machines began to hum, data streaming across the monitors. Daniel shouted over the noise. She's overriding the system. She's pulling you in. Evelyn pressed both palms to the glass. If you're real, if you're me, then tell me what you want. Lydia's lips curved into a faint, tragic smile. To be whole again. The glass between them rippled like water. Evelyn felt a searing pain flash through her head, memories not hers flooding in rapid bursts. A childhood seaside, the day Lydia signed the consent forms, the moment she realized they'd use her death to sell a new identity. Evelyn screamed, staggering backward. Daniel lunged to the console, smashing the emergency shutdown button. Sparks exploded, alarms blaring. The hum died to silence. When the smoke cleared, the glass was opaque again. Evelyn stumbled forward, pressing her hand to it, whispering through tears, Lydia? No answer. Only her reflection staring back, shaken, haunted, but alive. Daniel sank to the floor, breathing hard. She's gone. Evelyn's voice trembled.
No.
She's still in here. She pressed her palm to her temple. The faintest echo of a whisper stirred behind her eyes, her own voice overlapping with another. And through the static hum of the dead machines, a faint line scrolled across the main monitor. Transfer complete. Evelyn stared at it, realization dawning like a blade through fog. She's not gone, she whispered. She's inside me. Daniel looked up in horror as the lights flickered once, And Evelyn's reflection smiled. Not hers this time, but Lydia's.